Yeah, I think e-commerce is definitely going to start expanding into other industries. I mean, we start to see it now. Like maybe 5, 10 years ago, you could only buy things like clothing or random items like that on Amazon. But now, especially during the pandemic, I feel like we start to see a lot of different companies pop up, like Instacart, where they start delivering groceries, so you don't have to go to the grocery store. And even though that was a little specific to the pandemic, I think after, as we're making a rebound back, a lot of people are still going to utilize these resources so that they don't have to go to the grocery store or anything like that.
Welcome to Stream, a trucktractortrailer.com production. My name is Zach Miller. I'm your host. And if you're looking at me and thinking, wait a second, is Zach dressed like some college professor trying to impress an incoming crop of students? Yes. And the reason for that is I'm honored to have the trucktractortrailer.com intern team here with us on Stream today. And, I just want to say, I know a lot of people in trucking, especially some of the older people, don't have the greatest impression of the younger generation. And I have to tell you, you are completely wrong about that. These people are absolute superstars. It was such a pleasure and a privilege to work alongside them over the summer. I honestly think they taught me more than I taught them. And so we're going to get into it here. Guys, if you could just please introduce yourself and just say, what school you go to. It should be easy. You guys all go to the same school, but that's okay. Kate, we'll start with you. We'll go Kate, Denton, and Tyler. How's that?
Yeah, my name's Kate. I'm an incoming junior at Indiana University. I'm majoring in marketing and co-major in international business.
My name's Denton. I'm also a rising junior at Indiana University studying finance. And overall, it's just been a great summer working at TTT.
I am Tyler. I'm going to be a sophomore at Indiana University studying entrepreneurship.
Awesome. And so, I have to ask, what were some of the lessons that you learned at school that you were able to apply working at TTT this summer?
Yeah, for sure. I took a couple of major classes last semester for marketing, and what I kind of saw translated the most is we learned a lot about brand loyalty and consumer loyalty. And just working in TTT, I know how important it is to gain your customers' trust, especially for such a big purchase. So I think learning about how to kind of be part of the community, gain customers' trust, and keep them loyal is something that has really translated from a couple of the marketing classes that I've taken so far.
For me, I think the most important was the technical skill set I learned through taking numerous classes at IU. A lot of it was Excel based. And so, in a lot of projects like data cleansing that I worked on with Tyler, we really utilized those skills that we learned in class.
Yeah, like Denton said, a lot of the technical stuff really translated to TTT work. Just data cleansing, working with CRMs for customer stuff. And then on the other side, I think that the business presentation class that I took last year, as well as one of the other classes where I made a LinkedIn, those two kind of translated really well, not directly, but just kind of making me more professional. I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and then, let's be honest, there's a flip side to that too. They teach you stuff in school that you get out into the working world and you're like, well, that was kind of nonsense. So starting with you, Tyler, we'll go Tyler, Denton, Kate. What's something that you quote unquote learned in school that you realize is just not applicable for real world usage?
Well, if there are any Kelly listeners out there, you'll know about finite math. And I did not like that class, and I don't think it translated very well. It's just a very difficult math class, and it's just annoying, and it doesn't really have anything to do with business. not to throw Kelly under the bus, you do a great job, but that class is stupid.
So,
Um, for me, the most important thing that I learned through TTT and not really in school is that one formula doesn't really fit all. So when we were valuing companies for the pitch book for Green Island, we were looking at a lot of competitors and seeing how much they were worth to try to gauge how much our company was worth. And at school, we learned a lot of times that one formula might work for everything, but through TTT, I found out that it takes a lot of industry knowledge and experience to try to gauge really how much a company might be worth instead of just using one strict formula.
yeah, for me, the first class that came to mind was the yoga class I took that didn't translate. But otherwise than that, a lot of some of the classes, like Tyler mentioned, finite, or some classes where it's just kind of a lot of information based and testing based, didn't really translate because at TTT I was really able to gain real world experience, especially in a startup space, and it was more fast paced, and I just learned a lot more from having an internship than sometimes I would in my classes that were a lot of just like information based, facts based, stuff like that.
That's awesome. And Den, I want to start with you for this question because we were talking a little bit offline about how much you learned about the trucking industry. And this is something I'm really passionate about. And longtime listeners of this show and anybody who reads my website, newyorktruckstop.com, knows that I not only am I passionate about trucking, but I want to get young people involved in trucking. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happening in trucking that I think really appeals to younger people. And so I'd love to get some feedback about maybe some misconceptions that you had about the industry that changed working, spending the summer working in trucking.
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception I had was that in the nicest way possible, I felt like truck drivers wouldn't be the nicest people. And throughout having a lot of calls with, helping out registered users and calling them to try to see how we could help, I realized that a lot of these people were really kind-hearted. I mean, there was a random number from California calling them, and most of them never rejected once, or if they didn't really have anything to say, they'd tell me instead of just hanging up right away. And that was definitely the most surprising thing for me.
That's amazing. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, well, I did a little bit of that, and I definitely saw that as well. On the social media side, it kind of is what Dent was saying. I did a lot with just interacting in social media, and just kind of boosting our brand out there for everyone to see. And everyone on there was just super nice, super welcoming. It was super great to see because I feel like a lot of the times people on the internet can sometimes be really mean, but the trucking industry was great, super welcoming. It was cool to see. It gave me a lot of hope in this world, which is good.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see like how much of a community everyone was in the trucking industry, and it was really great to see because I really didn't have any conceptions or any kind of knowledge of the industry coming in. Just marketing internship, but not only did I learn a lot about marketing, I learned a lot about a new industry, which is really cool for me just because it pushed me and it challenged me to kind of grow. And everyone in this industry is amazing, and I'm excited to just use my knowledge and keep learning. Because it really is cool what everyone in the industry is doing and where it's going.
I love hearing all of that. I really do. Where, since you guys are the young generation and you guys are the next generation to also hit the workforce, I'm a little curious. Where do you see e-commerce going over the next decade, especially, among your peers who probably use e-commerce more than any other generation? What do you think the next decade in e-commerce looks like?
I think the next decade in e-commerce is going to have a huge shift because right now you have a lot of the Amazons, not really, but there's Amazon, there's Walmart, Best Buy, all those major, huge distributors. And I think e-commerce might shift towards smaller companies and smaller groups of people. I mean, you don't need 100,000 people to run a website or to do something like that. I mean, you did need 100,000 people 10 years ago to run a company that was the size of Amazon, but as technology improves, machine learning and artificial intelligence is going to be major. And I think in the next decade, we're going to have some pretty wild advancements. And so honestly, I couldn't give you a definitive answer, but I do think it's going to shift from bigger corporations to smaller groups as the technology improves.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that it's gonna change. And also I do think that it's already so much on social media, but I continue to see that growing. Just on social media in general, having people just find things through social media, like online websites, and kind of purchasing straight through there. And I think that as we move forward, that just more people are not going to be as intimidated by e-commerce. They're going to start taking it on and being successful in it. And I know it's definitely going to grow. And I think that everyone can learn from it.
I think I'm about to ask the toughest question that I could ask someone who goes to Indiana. Will the Indiana Hoosiers men's basketball team make the NCAA tournament this year? Denton, let's start with you.
We're really hoping for it. I mean, every year we say we will, but at this point, all you can do is hope.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough blow to have the March Madness in Bloomington last year and not to be a part of it. One can only hope. I have maybe a little bit more hope in our football team than our basketball team, but still rooting for both teams to be national champions.
We can do it. We're going to do it. Both teams. And we can now attend games. It'll be great.
Now that's a good point. That you need that home court advantage.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I'm definitely excited.
Do any of you have any questions for me? Want to put me on the spot?
You said that you learned a lot from us. What was something that, like, the biggest kind of lesson that you learned from us being interns for you guys this summer?
I think I have my philosophy on social media is either, be funny, be straight business, or be aggressive. I'm okay with being funny. I'm really okay with straight to business. I'm not great with being aggressive. I think you guys taught me a really nice blend of the three, and you really sort of eased some of my understanding and apprehension about, putting myself out there a little bit, from a business perspective, putting myself out there a little bit more on social media.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was actually thinking about that earlier, about how my generation, or kind of the Gen Zs, grew up with social media. And a lot of people didn't grow up with social media. And I'm starting to realize more and more the technology that I didn't grow up with and stuff I kind of didn't see my entire life is more difficult. And social media kind of just came to me like nothing. And so I think, like what Kate was saying earlier, how social media is going to be a big part of e-commerce and just the business world. Yeah, it's definitely true. And I think our generation is going to really push that.
Was this your first podcast? Everybody's first podcast here?
Being on one, yes.
Yeah.
I've listened to some. But yeah, my first podcast, being on it.
Well, there you go. No, pretty painless here. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for all the work you did over the summer. We are always here for you as a resource, and anything we can do, please let us know.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I've been the entire TTT team. I'm sure the watchers and listeners don't get to see a lot of people, but there are a ton of great people that work in TTT, and it's a great team, and I had such a great experience.
Yeah, same. It was a great summer. I learned so much, and I'm just so excited to use the knowledge that I've learned and keep moving forward. And I've just had such a great time actually learning about the trucking industry, using it, and marketing. And I'm just really excited and grateful that I have this opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going off of what they said too, I just want to say thanks to you too, Zach, for hosting this and having us able to speak about our experiences. It was definitely a nice way to wrap everything up.
Yeah, well, I hate to spring it on you now, but we're going to have you guys on again, probably maybe around Christmas, to see how this compared to your first semester back. But That's how we do things on stream. I like to
Right.
surprise people at the end.
I'm excited. A little Christmas edition. On our home from break.
Now we
Right.
have podcast experience too.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Second time around.
Oh no, you guys were great, but you know, it's like muscle memory. The more you do it, the better you get. For example, I'm supposed to sign off asking people to like, share, and subscribe, which I was about to not do. So there you go. You know, we're all learning every day. We'll see you guys next time on stream.